we still see the welcome. So I would like to welcome you here at GCCM Messaging Summit 2021 already, and here with me is Stephen from Gamma. Hi there. So welcome you all out there. We have a huge panel actually here. I'm very proud to have them all here with me. The topic of today is the latest technological innovation and developing the developments in the messaging landscape. So a mouthful, and as always, I cannot do this by myself, and I don't want to do this by myself. So I'm very honored to have Julia Lehmann here with me, and I'll give her quickly a word to introduce herself. Julia, welcome.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Julia. I'm a co-founder of On4, a digital innovation lab with strong focus on conversational AI. So we can mainly help aggregators create new products. And I also lecture digital marketing at the University of Nottingham in Germany.
Okay, thank you very much, Julia, and welcome to the panel discussion. Stephen here's live with me in Berlin. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
Can you please do a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm Steve Lowe. I'm product director for mobile within Gamma. Been in the mobile industry for about 26 years, which isn't always a good thing. But yeah, so I spent most of that time in the MVNO space, so building MVNOs and running MVNOs. And Gamma, amongst other things, is a MVNO.
Okay, well, after 26 years, not many industries can say that it's still growing and growing fast. So,
Indeed.
So welcome to that. So Bernardo, over to you.
Yeah, I'm Bernardo Arnaud. Thank you. I'm Bernardo Arnaud. I'm the CEO of Venidire. 11 years in telecommunications, since 2013 in the messaging and conversational e-commerce sphere. More of an advertising person than a technical person, so expect some human touch in the technical discussions.
So we'll put all the technical questions. They all come to you. You know this now.
Very good, very good. That is what I was expecting.
Okay, welcome and thank you, Bernardo. Over to Alok. Welcome.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thanks for having me on this Power Pack panel. I'm Alok Maurya, Deputy Director of Innovation and Products for Globe Teleservices. I have experience in working for industrial automation, Industry 4.0 solution development, and then moving back to the telco domain, which is very close to my heart. Here in GTS, I am taking charge of developing fraud management solution for voice messaging data, and developing a solution for enterprises, which can bring the customer closer to the enterprises and enhance the customer journey and experience over throughout the life cycle.
Okay, thank you, Alok. Nick, over to you.
Thanks very much. Hi, I'm Nick Millward. So I look after the European area of the business for Kalera. I don't know if you're aware, but recently Mgage was acquired by Kalera. I'm part of the Mgage or ex-Mgage team. Been within the industry with operators and aggregators and everything for about 25 years. So kind of a lot of experience or a lot of history in the field. But yeah, looking forward to the session today. That's me.
Thank you very much, Nick, and happy to have you. Clive.
Hi, it's nice to meet everyone. I've been working in mobile messaging for 25 years also, so getting a bit long in the tooth. Here in Annam, we're focusing on working with operators to help them with their mobile messaging infrastructure and strategies. I think our main job is about securing the SMS channel today, but we also work with customers on SMS routing and billing and a whole variety of other messaging related topics.
Okay, thank you very much, Clive, and welcome. Elias, just a quick thing. How many years are you in the industry? Because I counted in total already 500,000 years in the industry.
Yeah,
you're the youngster.
I'm the baby of the bunch. I've only been here 15 years, so you know, I've got a lot to learn. But I've been at Twilio a year and a half. I'm on the go-to-market side. I head up the emerging markets team. Prior to Twilio, my career was always on the carrier side. Most recently at Telia, where I was part of the team and led the team that set up the Telia messaging hub. So kind of seen it from both angles.
Okay, cool. And then thank you for being on the panel, and great having you, Elias. and to everybody actually. So Stephen, if I may invite you please to go over to the stand and share with us your presentation. What are you going to talk about? What's your topic?
It's just an introduction to this session.
Okay, cool.
So,
Okay, well, good luck with it, and we'll more than happy to listen to what you have to share with us.
thank you.
So, and please, audience, again, welcome for all of you being here and taking the time. And you know, if you do have any questions, it's an interactive session. So, open up your mouth, speak, ask, because that's what this platform is all about. All right. So, and oh yeah, you too on the panel. You can ask questions as well if you want to. Right. All right. So, Steve is.
Okay. Okay, this is a bit strange actually, because having been in the industry 25 years and looked at too many computer screens, I now need glasses and I'm short-sighted.
Same
so
here, but
yeah.
just because I'm getting old.
So to see anyone in the audience,
that
I
was
have to
not
take
funny,
them
by
off.
the way.
Yeah. So if I start doing this, it's not because I'm intelligent, it's just that I can't see you. But anyway, it's great to be here. So Steve Lowe from Gamma, my colleague here, Jack Graham as well. And we're from the UK, so you know it's fantastic to be here despite the pandemic and despite Brexit. We've made it to Berlin, so we're really thrilled to be here. So we're going to kind of just introduce this session. I should give you the kind of obligatory introduction to Gamma. But I'll also talk about you know, some of the changing environmental drivers, I suppose, and technological game changes that we see from our side of the business, and some of the key drivers that are driving enterprises and customers of ours. And then a slide on where's the money, because we all want to understand where the money is. So Gamma actually may not be too well known in terms of brand, because 75% of our business is actually done through partners. So we do have a direct business, we sell into public sector, into enterprise, but we do a lot of work with partners. So actually in this audience, we could be both a supplier and a customer. So it's quite a good event for us. We kind of get both sides of the coin, which is great. And our focus really has been around cloud communications since our inception. We're the largest provider of SIP trunks in the UK. So we've got about 1.2 million SIP trunks that we provided, bigger than BT. We always like to say that at every event. And we also have around 600,000 cloud telephony seats, which are rapidly evolving into full UCaaS with collaboration tools and so forth. We are actually an MVNO as well, so we provide connectivity, so Ethernet, broadband, SD-WAN, and mobile. And we've been an MVNO over the last few years. We have around 170,000 mobile numbers out there, which isn't bad for an MVNO in the B2B space. So I think we are all aware, and it certainly came up in the last discussion, the impact of the pandemic, which has really accelerated things, I think, across the whole landscape for us. And I think I heard a stat, I'm not sure if it was Microsoft that was saying they'd done something like 2 years development in 2 months, was it, on Teams, something like that? Because you know, suddenly everybody is working from home. And I think we all recognize that actually things are never going to be the same again. So that daily commute into the office is probably not going to happen every day for most people. And what we're finding is that our customers are talking around, you know, maybe 2 days in the office per week and 3 days from home. But that means that, you know, technology has to support this. What we're also finding actually is that a lot of our enterprise customers, when they now talk to us or they go out to tender, they've actually thought really, really deeply around what the new world looks like. So it's not just the technology that's accelerated in terms of being able to support people working from home. It's also that enterprises are thinking, well, how am I going to cope in this new world? How am I going to do business? How am I going to support my people? And we're starting to see a lot of well thought through requirements that are coming through in tender documentation. I think the other thing about the pandemic is that there has been a big hit on all economies, and that's going to impact us for a lot of years to come. So, you know, how are we going to pay this debt back, for example? We then look at other impacts such as climate change. Everyone's aware of that. The environment, corporate social responsibility is increasingly important. And organizations are starting to think about, well, how do we give back as well? Certainly we are. I mean, we've done very well after the pandemic because of the kind of business we are in. And I'm sure others in this room have too. So you start to think, well, how do we actually give back? Just to set some of the kind of pace of technological change into context. Well, the Industrial Revolution took about 300 years, and that was described by some kind of socio-economic experts as the most important event since the domestication of plants and animals, right? I mean, that was a big thing. That was bringing lots of people in from rural environments into cities. But then you start to look at what's happening now in automation in the 21st century. Do we actually need people on production lines anymore? Well, very few is the answer. But where people are starting to move to is, you know, thinking about process. How do we operate? How do we make processes more streamlined? How do we solve manufacturing challenges? And coming from the north of England, I was very proud to put this slide up actually. This is a slide from the Sheffield Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre. Sheffield used to be a massive hub for steel production and kind of industrial area. That whole kind of manufacturing base has declined considerably, but now the value is being added in terms of intellectual property. You know, how do we actually improve processes for people? And then artificial intelligence. So Julia mentioned this. Really want to hear more about that because I think this is a really big one for us. And we see artificial intelligence being deployed in anything from contact centers, you know, assessing the tone of somebody's voice, trying to understand when they need to be passed on from a, let's call it a robot, to a real person because they're getting annoyed. You know, our network host, mobile network operator host in the UK is 3UK. They are the first operator in the world to deploy a fully virtualized cloud core network, and that uses artificial intelligence. So they have sensors in the network, and if something goes wrong, they try to intervene before it becomes customer impacting. And the network will self-heal, or it will send a message to somebody who needs to then go and do something. Really, really interesting topic, artificial intelligence. And I like the quote here because, you know, it's saying, well, it can go one of two ways. It can absolutely enable us and make society better, or, you know, we could get Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator, and that wouldn't be a good thing. Being in Germany, I just wanted to put this slide up. This is Mercedes Factory 56. I don't know if people are aware of this, but this is a kind of experimental factory of the future. And the production line isn't actually a conveyor belt anymore. All the parts and all the vehicle parts and the bodies are carried on carts, which are controlled by artificial intelligence. You know, so they move to a robot or sometimes a person who does something, which does something, and then it moves on to the next person. In parallel, they're tracking demand from dealers. So how many cars have been ordered? Do we have big demand coming up? And they're tracking suppliers on the road. How are we doing for parts? Do we need to order more parts? Are there traffic issues? Has Brexit gone in the way and nobody can get through the borders? And they can then actually scale up or scale down the production line accordingly. You know, so the computer will just work out we need to do something different, and those 15 people who asked for holiday today, we can give them a holiday today, and so on and so forth. So really, really fascinating how this stuff is coming together. And this whole factory, the communication is managed by Wi-Fi and 5G. Okay. So looking at some of the key technological developments, we're seeing super fast, high capacity, tailorable connectivity. So, you know, in our world, in the world of 5G, super fast, we've got people using our service who are getting 1.2, 1.3 gig per second just out and about, which is amazing. You know, when I started 170 years ago, it was 9.6 kilobits per second. But going forward with network slicing, that connectivity will be tailorable, you know, so depending on the SIM, depending what application it's supporting, depending on who it is and which organization it is, you can actually tailor the quality of service. And that same type of flexibility is starting to emerge in Wi-Fi as well. Software-defined networks gives you much more flexibility and it's much lower cost to manage. Cloud and edge computing, so the ability for people to create applications and to have very low latency because actually the computing power is close to where they have their mobile device or their terminal. Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, as we've said, drive communication in a different way because now you have things talking to things. So key drivers, if you think about any business, actually what they mostly want to do is just run their business processes because they want to make money, and their business processes enable them to make money. They need to be able to power internal and external communications. Yeah? So I need to be able to talk to my colleague Jack. I also need to be able to talk to my customers, and they need to be able to talk to me. And communication is person to person these days, thing to thing, person to thing, and thing to person, right? And it's whether you're in a fixed location, on the move, or on the pause. That connectivity has to be there, and communication will occur. We heard something about security in the last session as well, and this is also something we're hearing from our customers. Over the past few years, security has been really important to enterprises and public sector organizations, but increasingly this is being becoming a much more important issue for smaller businesses as well, because whether you're a 10,000 person business or a 3-person business, you have GDPR responsibilities that you need to support. Okay, so I think within this environment, within the development of technologies, more things become possible. To me, the key drivers of where our industry will go and where messaging will go is going to be driven by customers. As they understand what the technology can do for them, they're going to tell us what they need. And of course, that will be a two-way conversation. It will be iterative, but I think it will be largely driven by customers. Okay, so where's the money? I did this slide. It's about the UK because we're a UK-based organization, although we are now expanding and we've bought businesses in Germany, Spain, and the Netherlands. But what we're seeing here is a move from kind of traditional voice and traditional end user messaging into other areas. So if you look at the top line there, unified communications can include what we do. It can include the messaging piece that we're talking about here. It can also include the ability for people to have calls, and it can include kind of internal and external conversations. If you look at mobile data, what's really interesting is that revenue-wise, we expect that to fall over the next few years. But we know that more people are using data and they're using more data as well. So that data is being used for something, but the connectivity is becoming commoditized. So that kind of leads us to believe that actually more money will be needed in value-added services and the kind of things that these guys are doing here. And if you look at software as a service as well, already big and will be bigger. So that would be things like contact center software, etc. Again, really an area that that plays well to messaging. And again, we heard during the pandemic about health services. We support platform providers who support the National Health Service with two-way messaging to book vaccination appointments. We also support organizations like aggregators of tradespeople, websites where you can find a recommended tradesperson. And we give them a virtual mobile number. So you call that tradesperson and they're not revealing their own number, but that call will get through to them. And we give the caller a virtual number as well. So the tradesperson calls them back and they're not revealing their real number either. So everybody is kind of protected from that point of view. But these are kind of typical use cases that we're seeing now. And I guess as we go forward, as the technology becomes more and more enhanced, more becomes possible, we'll see those use cases develop further. Okay. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. Hey, Steve, let's see if the audience has any question for you or the fellow panelists. If you have any questions. Steve? You've been so clear. The message is there. The message is there. So let me invite, let's say, Alok, Bernardo, Elias, and Nick, Clive, and of course, Julia, back on stage again, even if it's virtual, but next time it will be live, hopefully, to be with us here at the Messaging Summit in Berlin. Julia, Steve just mentioned already something, but while the messaging environment is constantly changing, what from your point of view are the technological innovation we see today, and what challenges will we face? What is your, let's say, prediction? What do you see around you?
Well, one of the biggest recent trends has been the boom in messaging and chat applications in general. Many people already prefer to use chat instead of email or talking on the phone. And the reason is that it is a natural form of communication. And it works seamlessly on your mobile platform. So as mentioned before, customers already expect 24/7 services across their preferred channels, but companies still rely on telephone and email, which leads to an increasing frustration. So since customers no longer base their loyalty on price or product, they stay loyal with companies due to the experience they have. So this experience has to be as easy and convenient and possible. And so based on that, I see a high trend towards self-service and cloud services, like Twilio, Kalera's multi-channel communication solutions, and of course AI. And whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, it looks like the big one single solution. But as mentioned before, it's a wide range of technologies, of methods, of algorithms that make software smarter and appear human. So from my perspective, being a conversational AI provider, of course, I see a high benefit in this technology, but I mainly focus on natural language processing and machine learning, which is the future of communication, conversational AI. So definitely one of the topics that I see will be leading the future, especially artificial intelligence.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Elias.
Yeah, I think maybe to go, one step further, you're right, it's moving towards conversational, it's moving towards that chat application. I think what's key that companies need to get right is ensure it doesn't become siloed. Everyone's moving towards multi-channel, omni-channel, but what we see on occasion is companies can have WhatsApp running on one application, chat on another, an agent kind of trying to switch between 3 or 4 screens. The key to success here is to get true personalization. You need to consolidate all that data and give the agents almost like one view. So if you look at acquiring Segment as a CDP, Twilio is kind of enabling its customers to do that. And the final step to what you're saying there, Julia, as well is the integrations. Ensure you enable integrations. Any channel that you add, integrate it into the AI that you're using, right? Offer that ability, integrate into Salesforce, Zendesk, etc., etc. So really ensure everything you do, you have a long-term view of what where you're trying to go, and it is truly omni-channel rather than siloed.
Okay, thank you, Bernardo. How do you see the technological innovations around us?
Well, I can tell Eric a little bit about Latin America, which is our main market. We've seen a transition of the messaging per se, even in our revenues, to infrastructure as a service, just like Steve pointed out in his presentation in the UK. So it's a similar trend in Latin America. We saw also that, as Elias and Julia mentioned, there's a need for a technological package from the customer side. So you need to have a seamless transition in a highly personalized ecosystem and serving customers hyper locally. and not anymore just being, the supplier of messaging or the supplier of instant messaging application like WhatsApp or Telegram. Although most of the public is migrating to those instant messaging applications, we do see a lot of public sector, much more than 2 years ago, much more than 1 year ago. Everything that is mixing with, the COVID response, and everything that is mixing with bigger health projects in the public sector do ask us for ESG parameters and certifications now, something that was unthinkable of 2 years ago. Even, your messaging company in your core, right? We were founded like a messaging company, like most of the companies here in the room. But now we are seen as actors in an ecosystem of telecommunications and customer-centric service. So I think that it goes in that way. It goes in that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Alok, from your point of view, what technological innovations do you see? But then as well, maybe you can kick down what are the key drivers for it. So I really would like to understand the drivers behind it.
Sure. Thank you for allowing me. I would relate a lot with the presentation of Steve from Grama. So now we are in the tech age where messaging is used for marketing, promotional, and if you see 1/3 of messaging around the world is targeted for 2FA and OTP verification. Soon we will see more engaging two-way communication on SMS platform, which is still in a way very less utilized. You can see only the survey companies are utilizing it to their business model. IoT, well-developed ecosystem, which is making our life easier, and messaging is playing a pivotal role in it. We will see IoT will further drive messaging business, and good traffic is expected from machine to machine, or you can say from your home devices coming to your mobile application or directly to your messaging app. So this new kind of traffic will definitely grow in, and we have seen like how we are developing further and the world is getting connected. No doubt chatbots and digital payment solution are also driving the messaging growth further. For the challenges, I would mention the biggest challenge is for operator to monetize the A2P messaging. That is at the forefront requirement. Gray market destroy the brand reputation and user experience. So operator, doesn't really recognize the actual revenue coming from this messaging platform, which discourages them to think about the further development in this area. Obviously, the key drivers are enterprises who are providing their valuable service to their consumer directly on their handhelds, marketing agencies, IoT device manufacturer and companies who are integrating the machine to the human mobile handset using the communication protocols and platform which are well developed now. We can also see in the panel, we have many anti-fraud or firewall solution provider who are entitled to drive this challenge of operators to monetize on their A2P messaging business and regulate the traffic coming through that. So we are also contributing in this area through our Armor firewall, connecting African mobile operator to this firewall ecosystem and monetizing the A2P game further. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok. Nick, where do you see what the main drivers are, where they come from?
I think it's many different areas, but if I can maybe just go back a step, I think if we look at the here and now, the today, the hot topics in terms of messaging landscape, for me, I think it's evolution into other channels. And I think Elias mentioned the kind of omni-channel strategy. It's funny. One of our larger clients kind of said to me recently, I just don't need any more channels. I've got enough channels. Yeah, apologies, I'm actually in the office on my own and nobody's activating the automated lighting, so I've gone a bit dark. But what he said was, I don't need any more channels, yet when we did a study with some of their clients needed to access them on multiple different channels. So we've kind of flipped the perception, I think, of this confusion with all of these different channels out there, like Apple Business Chat, WhatsApp, SMS, voice, etc. That this is all confusing. We really want to focus maybe on our app development. We've kind of flipped that now, that you have to open up all these channels, because your customers, different age demographics or different types of people, want to connect with the brand through whatever means that they're happy with doing. It could be Viber, it could be an SMS, or whatever. So I think the drive for me is certainly coming from the consumers. But I think, you know, we've let's be honest, I think most of us in the room are still making our money off SMS, right? That's still the cash cow for a lot of businesses. However, we know that margins are being squeezed every single day. Well, certainly mine are month on month. You know, we're being squeezed on margins. So we have to enable these newer technologies as well. So, you know, I think this omni-channel play right now is relevant. I think the hot topics within that is video. We recently acquired a video company. We know some of our competitors have done the same. Video is a hot topic. The rich communication services is hot topic as well. And that's RCS, it's WhatsApp, it's Apple Business Chat. But I put that into the same kind of category. I think chatbots is kind of part of that as well. It's another layer down, really. I don't really classify chatbots as a product. And I think the other area is kind of social. I think what we're seeing is that kind of two-way communication with brands, and either individuals or groups of individuals, where you know, communication's happening more on that social level. And certainly consumers seem to be a lot happier to do that now. So perhaps a long-winded way of saying it, but I think it's certainly, I think there's a drive coming from us and the technology providers to get new innovation out there. But then ultimately it's coming down to that end consumer. The end consumer's kind of driving it, you know, to make us, if you like, enable those solutions for the brands that we work with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Clive, anything to add on?
Yeah, I think I agree with what the other panelists have said. I mean, it's an interesting time. So obviously there's the explosion of new messaging channels which enterprises want to use to have a richer two-way messaging experience with their subscribers. So that's creating additional complexity. There's many enterprises today are not really benefiting from the messaging channel, even the SMS channel. So I think we're going to see continued growth in SMS and the other messaging technologies. Our customers obviously want to make sure that the SMS revenue is still to grow. We need to look at the security challenges on the other channels as well to make sure that we don't see leakage onto them. And lastly, subscribers want to make sure that the communication channels that are being used are being driven by them, but also they feel secure about them. So it's going to be a very interesting time over the next few years, I think.
So how to make money with it? I mean, Steve mentioned already, he had a slide on it, but from your point of view, how to make money with it? Where's the cash?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, sorry, please continue. Yes, please.
Yeah, well, I think we know how to make money in the SMS world. So I think it's a little bit more challenging in the other channels potentially, but we're going to see huge growth in SMS, and we need to continue to generate more revenue for our customers. And the other channels, I think it's not so clear right now. Obviously, there's some really good ideas around the RCS monetization approaches and billing models, which should generate revenue over time. But today, we're really focused on helping our operator customers generate as much money as possible from the SMS channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Julia, where do you see with let's say the new drivers, how?
Well,
what's the best possible way to capitalize on it? Sorry.
Yeah, well, so So honestly said, it's still super easy to make money on traffic operators don't want, such as gaming, and we are all from the industry, so we know the type of messages that is sent out there and where we get money. But in my opinion, it's not a sustainable business model. So I think if aggregators want to maintain revenue and margin growth, they need to explore cleaner products with more value-added services. So so over the years, we have seen many Middle Eastern and APAC operators regulate A2P messages by introducing the registration of brands and use cases and the penalization of misbehavior. And this trend we now observe in many Western markets as well, with increasing momentum. In the US, we now have a campaign registry on 10DLC, and the UK is also taking steps to eliminate unwanted traffic toward the subscriber. So I think it's all about protecting the mobile subscriber in future, and revenue and margin assurance for aggregators come from facilitating and pioneering greater user experience. So that's my personal opinion.
Okay, Elias, you agree, or do you see that, let's say, on the developments and the technological, innovations and developments we see around with the drivers we just discussed, any, let's say, magical things come in, let's say, especially on growth and profits?
I think there's two things. Like I said, the first thing is those additional products, those additional services that you keep on adding, like contact center, video, now with CDP, with email, just continue to add that, and the level of R&D that goes into it keeps you ahead of the market. My challenge, and I will say this, and I'll probably say this on every panel I'm on, is coming from both sides of the equation is, when I was in an operator, we always looked at revenue, and we looked at revenue growth, and you kind of get to almost this inelastic point where you can't take that revenue per message any further. And it's at that point that the competitors and the other channels, that's where the gap emerges. And if you're part of a CPaaS company, if you're a public company, you're driven by your margins. You can't afford to sell at these low margins anymore. And right now, what I see is very clearly is WhatsApp becoming a channel for verification over the next 1 to 2 years. They've just really enabled that, and we're already seeing large customers that we're working with on pilots on how can we switch verification OTP off in countries that, to my, again, they've taken that price per message 6 cents, higher. That's not sustainable. In a year from now, they're limiting that to almost an elastic demand on that channel. And you'll see that WhatsApp comes up as a much more, and not just WhatsApp, other, push, etc. That becomes a primary verification channel. That's where I see the conflict of revenue for mobile operators versus margin for CPaaS companies and aggregators.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you wanna bump in?
And the only thing that occurred to me was, if you think about it, what we're doing here is enabling businesses, aren't we? So, if you look at the IoT world, we need to be able to transport data via messaging. If you look at things that we talked about, appointment booking, for example, that's a highly efficient way of organizing, very, very difficult programs, at scale. So actually there are business benefits here, so businesses are getting huge efficiencies by using the technologies that you guys create. And, there's got to be a price for that. So, maybe it's the model that's different. I absolutely agree that there's not really anything to go on traffic. And I think we looked at the slide earlier and we saw the kind of reduction in data.
Yes, exactly.
Despite the fact that we got exponential increase in data usage. I mean, the forecasts are that we'll see anything from 50 gig per month per subscriber per consumer up to 100 gig per month over the next 3 or 4 years. Well, that's only sustainable now because 5G is a much more efficient way of transporting data than 3G and 4G. So I think I agree, the business model has to change. And I think we'll need to start having those difficult conversations of charging for the platforms that we're actually providing and enterprises wanting to pay for.
Okay, even if we only have a couple of minutes left, guys, but I still want to put my finger on it. Alok, where are the sustainable business models then? As long as a business model can be sustainable, but where is that future? What should we look for? What should we chase?
Yeah, definitely. See, we expect exponential growth in traffic volumes coming from these new emerging businesses. We have seen the scenario where pandemic have pushed us back to homes. More things and more digital company popped up. And the easiest way to communicate was always the messaging platform, irrespective of connecting with different APIs to WhatsApp and other platforms, was quite not so easy for the new businesses. CPaaS definitely played a role, and because of this emerging multi-channel atmosphere, messaging also got the boost out of these solutions. I will again add a new marketing platform which predict customer journey experience using AI and ML based system that brings the enterprise and consumer closer. You don't receive bulk SMS, like random SMS into your messaging application, but you receive some personalized message which is focused on your purchase history, recommendation, directly personalized for you. This kind of solution which are getting developed into this market, these are definitely going to boost up the SMS economy, and obviously the other messaging application economy coming from the CPaaS platform. So yes, adding to that, the last bit, RCS, OTT, and instant messaging solution are definitely there, and they will lead the way further. But never to forget, they are still dependent on data. While our old school messaging is still, it will take you throughout wherever your network takes you there.
Okay, thank you. Bernardo, what should we look out for? Scope for me a bit the future. What's your vision?
Sorry, I was on mute. I think that any company now, I can tell you by our group, we diversified also into fintech and some other verticals, because we saw that you have to not only own the traffic but have some track record in the segment, in that specific segment. And if you have read the news recently about payments, WhatsApp inaugurated, well, finally, Central Bank of Brazil inaugurated and authorized WhatsApp to perform payments in their channel due to the high penetration of the instant messaging app in the Brazilian population. Or we see that if you don't have deep pockets like traditional legacy telecom providers that go into every area, you need to somehow get some alliance with those companies that are in big tech, because once they make a project and they resolve, okay, we are going into this segment, they will even push for regulation. Nobody would say that that would be possible 4 years ago. That the central bank would, such a restrictive central bank as the Brazilian one, authorizing international instant messaging app to allow for payments, instant payments, and it even helped to shape the instant payment in the sandbox of the central bank. So it was a win-win situation. But for aggregators and for most of the traditional messaging or CPaaS companies, I still see that when you go into technological package, that is, you have to go into identity, you have to go into IoT, you have to go into where the service economy is. So ride-hailing apps, fintech, food delivery apps. You need to somehow get an alliance with those players, depending on who is strongest in your market, so that you make messaging relevant to them again.
Okay, thank you. So Clive, can you scope a little bit the future for us?
Well, as I said before, I think we're going to see continued growth with digital transformation, continued growth in messaging, but at the same time, with users having access to more messaging technologies, it's going to be it's really going to be very important for subscribers to be able to control the user experience and have a service which they're happy with and feel secure about. So a lot more messaging, more messaging technologies, and a more complicated security environment as a result of that. So I think there's going to be plenty for us to do over the coming years.
Mm-hmm. Steve, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think I agree with many of the points here. I think for me, the benefits of what this group of people provides and others in the industry are business process efficiencies, making companies more effective, helping them to engage better, more effectively in a more focused way with their customers and with consumers, and to really leverage that to its full potential. It has to be simple. We know in the business space, it's difficult enough sometimes to communicate with a business and say, well, this is what you need to do to make this product work. In the consumer space, it just has to be really, really easy. That user interface.
Okay, thank you. So, guys, a quick round because we're heading actually towards, let's say, the final of this beautiful panel session. So, just a quick round. Alok, any key messages? Quick one. You're mute. The most famous sentence in
yeah, rightly said. Rightly said.
Thank you.
Yeah, the key final message that I would like to deliver here is we need to restructure the business model of messaging business. The technology is too relevant, but the competition which is coming as, for example, like conversational messages, all IM, things are conversation. So that kind of capability is there in SMS, but we need to automate it. We need to just define the new rule of business. We need to define the security and protection across the ecosystem, and we have to just gain out the profits and margins from this traditional business. It's too relevant as of now.
Okay, thank you, Bernardo. Your key
I think
message.
that I think that I agree with Alok and Julia and Elias. We need more data and less text. We need to filter and milk what data can we have from the text campaigns and from what your customer wants to achieve, and then we can better serve them and their public.
Okay.
That's my message.
Thank you. Your key message, Nick, please.
Just trying to cover maybe something we haven't touched already, but I think solutions is important. I think the channels will just become a commodity, and I think we need to go that next level down or level up and really look into, what is it we're trying to fix with these channels being available. And I think we have to look at, what type of solutions can we offer and what value does that drive? That's how, I've got two very similar customers, for example, and they use messaging for very different things. Now, why can't we kind of, cross-pollinate that really? And I think for me, I think that's kind of where we need to get to. Once we sell the story of getting all these channels on, having this multi-channel or omni-channel kind of strategy, then we need to dig that bit deeper to start opening up solutions.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Clive?
Well, I think as over the coming years, we're going to see how the various channels are used in practice. I think there'll be some common patterns that are used for different applications. But I think what's clear is that many enterprises are only really just starting to use messaging to interact with their customers in a two-way model. And so there's a lot of additional traffic coming, a lot of new security challenges to focus on as well. So busy times, I think.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Elias?
Yeah, just to reiterate, I think customer data, customer personalization, that's the key going forward. And I think operators just need to be careful they don't price themselves out of being a key channel.
Like always, right?
Yeah.
Like always. Thank you. Julia, please. Your key message.
Well, I try to keep it short, so just find new ways to serve your market. This is not just technological questions, it's really about people, about mindset, about finding the right partners, and of course, talking to your customer and understand his needs.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, but from the sponsor of this this panel session, Steve, please, your key message.
Well, first of all, it's been an honor to be on the panel with this group of people. I think for me, I can't really add much more to what's been said. The only thing I will say, coming from the mobile space and the MVNO space, is that years ago there was an Irish mobile virtual network operator called Imagine, and they had a strapline which was "Imagine and anything is possible."
Yeah.
They actually went out of business, which probably didn't go too well. But you know, I think we just need to keep our eye on the way that the world is developing around us. I think, as Julia said, we need to talk to our customers. We need to understand what they're going through and how we can best enable them. So it's about learning. It's about communicating.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, with these, let's say, famous words, last of famous words from Steve from Gamma, I would like to close this session. We were talking about the latest technological innovation and developments in our messaging landscape, and I sincerely would like to thank, first of all, Steve, thank you, Gamma, and your whole team. So thank you for that, for being here. I'd like to thank the audience here being live with us. So thank you so much, and I hope you will enjoy lunch later on. The people out there and on Zoom, on Facebook, and everybody, and of course, the rest of my panel. Julia, thank you so much for being here. And telling all the guys around you what the way is. So thank you so much. And Alok, Bernardo, Elias, Nick, and Clive, has been an enormous honor to have all of you around. Let's say this virtual table and live table here in Berlin. So from the Messaging Summit. So with these words, I would like to thank you again so much. Stay healthy and see you soon, guys. Live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.